What's going on, guys? Mr. Domo here, back at it again. So as you can see in front of you, I have not all but most of the action figures that I've graded over the past, I don't know, like 2 years now that I've been on YouTube. And so you guys know that I do kind of like a mini series of unboxing figures, that are freshly graded from either AFA or CAS. And so that's what I wanted to talk about, was toy grading, kind of like my experience, why I do it, and what do I grade, you know what I'm saying? And then just kind of give you like my personal opinion about it. Like, I know there's mixed opinions about toy grading. Some people think it's a waste of money, some people think it's a scam, some people don't kind of agree on the grade that sometimes they get on their action figures, so it could cause a lot of problems. But that's totally fine, that's their opinion, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. For me, it's more of a hobby of getting figures graded. And one thing I love about getting toys graded is just that, for me, it's the protection and it's preserving action figures, you know what I mean? So the things that I like to get graded, obviously, is I do get toys that are modern. So as you can see, I do have this Boba Fett here in the Kenner color. That was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. That's the 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back. And then of course here's the Mandalorian that was carbonized. It was a Target exclusive, and so those are my modern ones. And of course, here I have a whole bunch of loose action figures and of carded action figures that are from the 80s and 90s and so what. But going back to what I get graded is most of the vintage stuff is toys that I remember as a kid, stuff that I remember seeing in the toy store, things that I remember that I wanted as a kid. But obviously, like, my parents were not rich, so I didn't have every toy that was out there in the market. But Ninja Turtles, I do remember I had those toys and stuff like that. He-Man, I did not. But there was a lot of toys out there in the market that as a kid I was just like, man, I wish I could have that, but I didn't. And so I like collecting this stuff because obviously it just brings back that childhood memory of having the toys, or the toys that I wanted. And one thing is that I like protecting, I like preserving these action figures because as years go by, they're just gonna get harder and harder to find, and they're gonna be harder to find in good conditions. People might have them just like in their attics or some kind of like storage unit or whatnot, or sometimes toys get destroyed just from like natural causes, like if a house was flooded or whatnot. And so like that stuff happens, you know what I mean? So I'm not saying that these cases are going to protect everything, they're not going to protect like a flood or fire and all that, but I'm just saying like toys that are kind of like loose and they're still in their original packaging and stuff like that. But anywho, but going back to what I like grading, so like I said, I like grading both modern stuff, especially when it comes to the modern stuff. I like grading stuff that is exclusive. So obviously, like those two, the Mandalorian, the carbonized one, they're not gonna do that again. Like they're not gonna release another Mandalorian, not in this I want to say not in this uniform, this outfit, his kind of like his before outfit, before he got the Beskar medal on. And of course the 40th anniversary, like that's it, like they're not gonna do another one. They're probably gonna move on to the Return of the Jedi anniversary and do something else. So when it comes to exclusives, especially like San Diego Comic-Con or like a store exclusive like a Walmart or Target, when they're not really gonna resell, I like getting them graded. And it's easier to get these graded packaged, just because I could find them more, it's easier to find them minty. When it comes to the vintage stuff, the retro stuff, it's a little difficult to find them in their packaging. If you do, then like people kind of like, the prices go up. It's ridiculous. Prices like just sky high, and people want like ridiculous amount of money. So usually I try to go for the loose just because it's a lot easier and I could find them a little bit more mintier, just like this one right here, the Star Trek Captain Jean-Luc Picard. He was really easy to find him, super minty. And of course, the He-Man there, he that's an 85. It was really easy to get him minty. But if it was still carded, it's a little bit more difficult, and obviously like for the price, it's a lot easier to find them loose. Now sometimes, you know, like I get lucky and I'll find something carded, just like Cops there, Mr. Bulletproof. He was easy to find carded. Now it's a little bit more difficult. Ninja Turtles, you know, they're still out there. There's a bunch of them out there, and of course, you know, I'm still trying to do that first 10 run, all carded, you know, hopefully unpunched, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from Playmates. But most of the other action figures, like my Kenner stuff, you know, I love getting them loose, just because it's a lot easier, and obviously space too. You know, when you start collecting action figures, man, you'll find out that you run out of space quick. And so when it comes to like getting loose action figures, it's a lot easier to well, one, it's easier to display, but two, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't hinder your space. You know what I mean? You have a little bit more room. You can find, you know, cool ways to display them or whatnot, or different unique ways to display them. So, you know, those are like the reasons why I display them. One, it's more of a hobby. Two, I like preserving action figures, and I like finding action figures that I remember as a kid, or just unique action figures out there. Now, when it comes to like the Star Wars stuff, I mean, that, you know, once you get into it, then you're just kind of falling into a rabbit hole, because once you find one action figure, then you find out there's a different variant, and it just gets crazier from there on. But when it comes to these grading action figures, you know, there's really two big companies in the United States. You know, you have AFA and you have CAS, and they're both great companies, you know. But the way I do it is just that with AFA, I have a membership with them, so I get like a 10% off, you know, grading. And so what I do is anything that's Kenner Star Wars related, I send it over. So if it's carded or loose, mostly loose, then I send it over to AFA. They're just it's, you know, I just have the membership with them, and so like it's kind of easier for me to send Star Wars stuff to them. Now CAS is where I'll send in any other toy line. You know, if it's bootlegs, if it's, you know, if it's He-Man, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all of that, then most likely I'm gonna send it over to CAS. One, AFA is only restricted to doing loose Star Wars stuff. So, but if it's carded, they'll do anything carded, but when it's loose action figures, they do Star Wars. And I have a lot of loose Star Wars stuff, so I just send it over to AFA. One, and another thing too is obviously is the timeline. So like the turnaround for AFA is a little bit quicker than its CAS. CAS has pretty much a 6-month turnaround when it comes to loose action figures, but they're really good with their carded stuff, and I think I'm gonna start sending carded stuff over to CAS more, just because now they have that 30-day turnaround, and so I'm gonna start sending more carded stuff over to CAS. So that's one good thing. But when it comes to loose, you know, I really don't have a choice. I have to send it to CAS, just because AFA, excuse me, is not doing loose action figures outside of Kenner Star Wars stuff. So, but if it's carded, if it's boxed or packaged or whatever, factory sealed, they'll do it. AFA, CAS will do anything. That's the great thing about CAS, is they'll do anything. You know, if you want just a accessory just displayed, or just a card back or a banner or whatever, CAS is doing. They'll do it. Also, they'll do custom, you know, displays for you. So that is one thing really good about CAS. AFA is good too. They have a good turnaround when it comes to their loose action figures. CAS does not, unfortunately. Now, if you have their membership, I think, I'm not sure if I don't know, actually no, their membership for CAS is just a discount, but it doesn't like speed up the turnaround. And that's one thing about AFA, is like, I like AFA because you have the option of what you want, you know, on their tiers. So if you want a quicker turnaround, you could go and upgrade for a bigger, or the better tier. CAS, you don't really have that option. You just have the 6 months waiting time, so it kind of sucks. But I mean, that's the reason why I like grading. Is one, I love preserving these action figures. Two, I love the way it displays. Three, it's really a hobby of mine. I love finding, you know, going out there looking for toys, vintage toys, or, you know, if it's a modern exclusive, I will definitely get it graded, especially when it comes to Star Wars stuff. I mean, I love grading, you know, exclusive Star Wars stuff, you know, like especially the Black Series stuff. I'm really digging it. Hopefully when I get a chance, I don't know, hopefully that the vintage collection continues on. I think Hasbro's saying they're gonna stop it. Hopefully they don't, but I do have all my Stormtrooper collection that I do want to get graded at some point. But I just wanted to share that with you, kind of like my thoughts and my opinions about it. You know, I like I said, I know people don't like it. I don't think it's bad. I enjoy grading them. Like I said, it's, for me, it's a peace of mind, knowing that, hey, I got these figures, they're preserved, they're protected, and then also, you know, like, I guess if I had to resell them, it'll be a lot easier to resell because people are gonna know, hey, that's graded by CAS and AFA, which are pretty known companies here in the United States. So you know, that's my thoughts on it, you know. And of course, you know, like I said, you know, when it comes to vintage stuff, I prefer grading it loose, just because it's easier to find it loose. It's a lot cheaper. You know, I'm not sponsored by anybody, you know, like I just collect stuff out of, you know, money out of my pocket. And so, you know, for me, if I could find a deal on like some loose action figures in good condition, then I'll go for it, you know. And like I said, I like collecting stuff that I remember as a childhood having, or stuff that I wanted as a childhood. But that's pretty much it. I just want to share that with you, you know, why I toy grade, or why do I send action figures to get graded, and that's pretty much it. So let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? You know, if you guys have any questions about sending action figures getting graded, you guys are always you guys can always hit me up, you know what I'm saying? So I always appreciate it when people ask me questions about getting stuff graded, and I like to hear about results on what they got graded and what the grade they got. So it's really good to hear from you guys, and it's always welcoming to hear from you guys about what you guys are sending to get graded. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.